We are 2 days away from the NFL draft kicking off, so we have a lot to talk about on today's show as things start to really heat up and the rumors continue to pour out. So welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here talking about the possibility of Atlanta moving down in the draft. Now, there has been some buzz, some murmurs, maybe even some rumors, if you will, about the Falcons looking to trade down, and they continue to get louder and louder. Now, this draft, I just want to say, I know that every year people say this draft is the most unique draft or this draft is unlike any other draft. I really do believe this draft is the most unique draft. We have Will Levis putting something on Reddit saying he's going number 1 overall, and Vegas reflecting that by making him one of the favorites to be the first overall pick. So I have no idea what's going to happen after Bryce Young actually does go number 1. Houston's going to go edge rusher. Arizona wants to trade back, but no one seems to be all that interested. What's Indy going to go? C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. The Seahawks may not want Jalen Carter, so what could that mean for Atlanta? Does Vegas want a quarterback? And if not, do they go cornerback? And if they go cornerback, then who do the Falcons get at number 8 if Devon Witherspoon or Gonzalez is taken? So it's going to be a very crazy draft, and Terry Fontenot better have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so forth laid out because anything can happen. Now, I am sure the Falcons would be interested in moving back, but that is very dependent on Will Levis or Anthony Richardson starting to creep and slip past teams that could take them, like Indy or Seattle or, Detroit or even Vegas. Like, you can't rule any of those teams out definitively for not picking a quarterback. So maybe the Tennessee Titans pick up the phone and make a call if one of those guys is on the board still at number 8. Now, here is the latest on the Falcons potentially trading back from Jeremy Brener and Mike Fisher. The Atlanta Falcons are in a good position going into this week's NFL draft, but a league source tells FalconsReport.com that they are working on gaining a more advantageous position by trading down, maybe just a few spots from their present perch at number 8 in round 1. Now, like I just said at the top of the video, this draft is going to be one of the most exciting drafts I think we have seen in quite some time. So if you are pumped up for it, make sure to like today's video. That way YouTube can do its thing and push this video to more Falcons fans. Now, getting back to the idea of trading back for Atlanta, it does make a lot of sense because they're sort of in that no man's land where they're not one piece away from doing a whole lot. They just need talent. So if they can get more picks to get more talented players, I'm not all that opposed to it. Now, I will say I like quality over quantity, but I could see the Falcons thinking, if we want to go Nolan Smith anyway, well, we can get him at 11, so let's just pick up an extra second rounder from the Titans if we fall back 3 spots. So the Falcons are rumored, like I said, with 2 guys amongst many other players, Nolan Smith and Bijan Robinson. So you could trade back from, say, 8 to 11 where Tennessee is. Or maybe even Houston jumps up from 12 to 8 just to screw the Titans over and get their quarterback for the future if they go Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson at number 2. So you could still get the guys you are looking at 8 if you go back 3-4 spots and you pick up an extra second or third round pick in the process. I don't see why Fontenot would not be interested in making a deal like that. Now, I still believe the Titans are the most likely option. You have a brand new GM there in Tennessee. What do GMs love to do? Get their fingerprints over everything, get their hands messy, get themselves into the weeds of the draft, and that could mean picking a quarterback to start, building their new direction around, whether that's Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, maybe even C.J. Stroud if they really want to jump up all the way to Arizona at number 3. But I don't think Stroud would be there at number 8, which is where the trade with the Falcons would be. So in this situation, it would likely be Levis or Richardson. Now, I want to hear from everyone watching right now. How would you feel if the Falcons traded back? 1 being you're miserable and you're going to turn the draft off. 10 being you want to build a statue for Fontenot and think, this is our man, we've got him, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to get this team in the right direction. Now, I would probably put it at, say, a solid 7.4. I still got to see who they're trading back, like who's on the board when they trade back. If they could have gotten someone like, Jalen Carter, then I'm going to feel maybe a little bit different about trading back and missing out on one of those surefire candidates. Now, we do have more on the Falcons trading down here. Falcons reporter Tori McElhaney, suggests the team could trade down to number 11 with the Tennessee Titans. In the deal, the Falcons would get an additional second-round pick this year and a fourth-round pick in 2024. So I think best-case scenario for Atlanta right now is if Richardson, Stroud, or Levis is still there at number 8. That's going to drive up interest for that number 8 pick, and you're going to get some offers from teams that might not have thought they had a chance when he was supposed to go through the first 5 or 6 picks of the draft. So the Titans, meanwhile, strike for their QB of the future. The Falcons fall 3 picks back, probably still get the guy they're looking at number 8, and in the process, they pick up 2 future picks. That is, in my opinion, a great deal for Atlanta, as long as one of the top guys is not on the board still, because then I might question it whether it was worthy to move back 3 spots and miss out on one of these blue chip prospects. So if you want Bijan Robinson or you want Nolan Smith, then yes, green light the trade and go back 3 spots, because you're getting the same guy and you're just getting more picks in the process. But personally, I've got higher aspirations than those 2 guys. I like them, but I like other players more. I like Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon, Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter. So if all those guys are gone, then that changes the conversation. But if they're still there, then maybe you want to stay put. Now, I am already behind on this, so let me tell everyone about today's sponsor, ZBiotics. So today's Falcons Today is sponsored by ZBiotics. Now, let's face it, after you guys throw in a bunch of super chats during our watch parties and whatnot, I don't always bounce back well the next day. That is until I found ZBiotics. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Give ZBiotics a try for yourself. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're ever unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS at checkout for 15% off. Shout out to ZBiotics for sponsoring today's show. All that information is also in the comments and the description of today's video. Now, getting back on track and talking about this hypothetical trade that's been tossed out there, here is what it looks like nice and neat for everyone watching. The Falcons and the Titans swap first-round picks, so 8 to 11, so you fall back 3. Tennessee also sends over their second-round pick, number 41 this season. Remember, the second round starts at pick 32, so we're going 9 spots into round 2. Pretty good early day 2 pick. And the Falcons also pick up a future 4th-round pick, so just some ammunition down the road. Not going to say no to adding another early day 3 pick in 2024. I would do this in a heartbeat as long as chaos does not ensue before me and Tyree Wilson and Christian Gonzalez and Jalen Carter are still on the board. If one of those 3 guys is still there at number 8, well, if you're moving back from 8 to 11, good chance none of those players would be there. But I'm going to assume that they will all get taken. At least 2 will get taken before Atlanta, especially with the buzz about the Raiders and the Lions looking at corners closely. If Gonzalez and Witherspoon go 6 and 7, part of me is going to be very upset, but that could open up an avenue to trade back and get an extra second-round pick. So hypothetical trade time now. Would you do this trade? Give me an A for accept or a D for decline. I'm going to accept it under the assumption that all of our top guys are gone at this point, and if they are zeroing in on Nolan Smith or Bijan Robinson, well, they're still getting the same player along with an extra second and a 4th-round pick. Now, coming up next on the show, I want to talk about some new draft targets at the number 8 spot here. there's some new guys, some familiar faces, because when you pick at number 8, you don't have to wait all that long until you're on the clock, so you have a better idea than, say, at pick 25 or so, what's going to happen before you. So our first target, and we have talked about him, for those of you that have been subscribed for a while, you have known that we have talked about him for quite some time. It is Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Can we all just take a moment, by the way, to sort of bathe in the fact that Texas Tech from the Big 12 is going to have a defensive player going in the first round of an NFL draft? That will never happen again. But he is one of the most bendy, athletic edge rushers we have seen in quite some time. Some GMs reportedly have talked themselves into Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson at this point. I think that's overthinking it a little bit, but 14 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. He's got the physical traits and tools. Put him in the right system in the NFL, unlike a Big 12 3-5, like 3-5 front or whatever, you're going to get much better results. Moving on to our next first-round target, running back Bijan Robinson. I toss and turn with Bijan Robinson. On one hand, I think he's a surefire thing. I think he's going to be more than just a one-contract guy who's out when his first contract is up with the team. I think he could have the level of stamina like a Derrick Henry, for example. On the other hand, you picked Tyler Algier last year in the 5th round, and he rushed for 1,000 yards after coming to the first game in sweats as a healthy scratch. So you don't necessarily have to go round 1 to find productive running backs. But Bijan Robinson, he is the outlier for the new fun norm of don't draft running backs early, draft ones late. He's going to be very, very special. So if you want a surefire thing, Bijan Robinson is your guy. Our next first-round target is Nolan Smith. I don't think he is the best fit at number 8. It's a bit early, but talk about a great football guy in the locker room, high football IQ, and a player who is going to be a leader the moment they step on the field. That is Nolan Smith, right? And this Falcons defense has been somewhat looking for a new leader for years to come, for quite some time. And Nolan Smith could be that guy who brings it all together. He's got good pass rushing skills. He's good against the run as well. He's a well-rounded individual. Nolan Smith at 8 might be a bit early, but if you move back to 11, he's going to look really pretty right there. We're going to look at our other 3 draft targets in just a moment, but here at Chat Sports, we go live for all 3 days of the NFL draft, so make sure to hang out with yours truly, producer Nick Roloff, and the rest of the cast and crew at Chat Sports all 3 days of the draft as we break down each pick by pick. Meanwhile, ESPN is diving into these horrible, tragic stories about players' upbringings and their whole family getting massacred. Meanwhile, we're going to talk about what they do on the field and what that means for your team. Moving on to our next first-round target, Christian Gonzalez. He's my number 1 cornerback in this draft class. I know a lot of people love Devon Witherspoon, but I can't look past a 6'2" corner who's got that type of reach and arm length and wingspan and has phenomenal speed to go along with it. They don't grow on trees. They don't come around every single draft either. So Christian Gonzalez and A.J. Terrell, that would be an awesome cornerback duo for years to come. So it might not be a pick that's going to result in wins in 2023, but I think it's a good pick that it's a good cornerstone piece to put down along with A.J. Terrell. And if Desmond Ridder's not the guy, well, whoever is the guy next season, they'll be walking into a pretty good situation. Unlike, say, Houston right now, who might not go quarterback because there's nothing to work with in Houston right now, so why not build out the rest of your roster first? The next first-round target is Devon Witherspoon. He's only a hair behind Christian Gonzalez. I mean, PFF had never graded a corner so highly, I believe, than Witherspoon last season. 92-point overall grade. 42 tackles, 14 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions. He's a bit smaller than Christian Gonzalez, but he makes up for it with phenomenal speed and great instincts and great ball skills. They are 1A and 1B. I just lean towards Gonzalez because I like the nice tall corners. I mean, that sounds a bit bonky, but something about 6'2" corner, that is going to get me going in round 1. All right, shame on me. And finally, our last first-round target is Jalen Carter. Arguably the best player in this NFL draft class. Is he going to be there at number 8? Probably not. He might be there if more teams start doing homework on Jalen Carter and talk about cramming before the final right now and decide, you know what, Carter might be the best guy in this draft class, but everything that happened with the arrest warrant that went out for him during the draft involving, unfortunately, the fatal car accident that took place in Athens following the national championship, you might see some teams go, it's just too risky for the 5th overall pick to be someone who might be one of the all-time busts because they never were able to get themselves with a clear mind on the field. There's a lot of conflicting buzz. I don't even think buzz the right word. Conflicting reports on Jalen Carter, the person out there. He is the biggest mystery going into this draft. Personally, I think he is worthy of a top 5, top 10 draft pick. I think the rest of the situation will sort itself out, and he will be a very, very productive player for a long time. But I can also see why a team looks at this and goes, you don't get to pick top 5 as a GM or top 6, 7, 8, whatever, all that often. Because if you do, you're probably getting fired. So you got to make these picks count. And I could see why a team goes, Jalen Carter, it's just too risky for us. We'll let someone else deal with that. We'll take the surefire thing in Christian Gonzalez or Tyree Wilson or Devon Witherspoon, and some other team can toss and turn with that decision. So who is your dream Falcons draft target? Jalen Carter is the best of those 6 names we looked at right there. You can make an argument for Jalen Carter to be the number 1 player in this draft class. So for me, my dream is Jalen Carter because I can sleep at night, I think, with the idea of Jalen Carter being a very productive longtime player for your team and not looking past some issues he's had, but understanding that there's always 2 sides to a story, and there are a lot of good people out there saying great things about Jalen Carter. So I am going to lean on that side, but let me know what you're thinking down below. Now, make sure to subscribe if you have not already. We keep you guys informed and entertained on your Atlanta Falcons all year long.